What's happening, guys? We're back working on the intake side today. All right, so we got a couple hours to work in the shop today. Not a whole lot of time, but that's okay because I don't think this episode should take very long. We're basically gonna do the same thing that we did last week to the exhaust manifold side, to the intake manifold side. So we're gonna bolt up the intake manifold. We're gonna check and make sure that we have all the seals, all the bolts, all the hoses, everything that we need in order to get that side of the engine run ready. We're also going to address that oil leak that we've had forever. So we're gonna do all that so that hopefully next time we put the motor in the car for the theoretical final time before startup, we have everything there, all the seals are in the right spot. We're not missing anything, and we can start it up. So shouldn't take too long, which is good because I don't have a whole lot of time, but let's crack into it. All right, the intake manifold was actually quite a bit easier than the exhaust manifold. I still had to do a whole bunch of cleaning and scraping on the gasket surface because that tape basically disintegrated. So we got that done, we got that bolted up, we got the valve cover bolted up. There were a couple things that we found. One is this hose. This is a hose that goes from the valve cover over to the intake plenum. I was supposed to get a new one of these when I got my hose kit that was supposed to be yellow. When I got that, I was supposed to get a new one of these. I think they sent the wrong kit. I think they sent an S13 kit instead of an S14 kit. So I don't have this. So I'm gonna have to build a new one. I think I can just go get a little chunk of 10 mil hose, hopefully with a 90-degree bend in it, and we'll be fine there. The other thing that I found was this is the boost reference hose for the fuel pressure regulator, and I got the distinct feeling that hot pink was not a factory Nissan color. So this has been messed with before. This is aftermarket. There's a T-fitting in that hose. I think the guy that had this before me was running some sort of boost gauge off of that. I don't want to do that. I think that that's a silly place to run your boost gauge off of. So we're gonna replace all this hose. I need to get some more hose, hopefully not hot pink in color. I also need to get some hose for the wastegate actuator on the turbo side. So most of what I found today is hoses, hose clamps. I also found the brackets So you guys would have saw me, I cut one of the brackets that holds the intake manifold to the head. It had a little like electrical plug mount on it. I hacked that off with the grinder and bolted it up. But that is only 1 out of 2 brackets, and I cannot find the second bracket. So we're gonna have to probably fab one up. Those brackets are there to hold the weight of the intake manifold rather than all of it getting transferred through the aluminum kind of plenum tubes or whatever into the head. We use a couple of steel braces. So there's 2 on the top there, and then there's I think 3 that go down to the bottom of the block. I'm only gonna be able to run one of the ones that goes down to the bottom of the block, so we're gonna make sure that we run both of the ones on the top. So we're gonna have to probably fabricate up another mount there. It'll be easy, just a plate with 2 holes in it. Those are there to keep the manifold from cracking off. So they're probably not real critical to have before we start the engine, but we definitely want to have them there before we go and drive anywhere, or else our intake manifold might fall off. So that's all that we found on the intake manifold. So I'm gonna work on getting those. There's one more thing I want to talk to you guys about though, and it has to do with the clutch. All right, here is the clutch that I showed you guys the other week. When I first looked at this clutch, I went, that thing is completely garbage. It has a whole bunch of heat pockets. It also has a cone, like it's worn into a cone shape. So I thought this pad, or this pressure pack was garbage, and we were gonna buy that Injuku Racing one. But what I did is I actually went online and found there's a tolerable wear spec for this pressure plate from Nissan, and it's 20 thousandths of an inch. So what you do is you take a straight edge, lay it across the pressure plate, and then take your feeler gauges and measure the gap on the ID between the pressure plate and your straight edge. And we're allowed 20 thousandths of an inch. So I went around and I measured this pressure plate, and we are anywhere from 18 thou to 21, 22 in some spots, thou of wear. So technically we're right at the limit of when we should be replacing this clutch. But we're not like way over. I thought we'd be like double the spec, but we're right on the limit. So I think what our new plan is rather than spending a bunch of money and putting a brand new clutch in this thing, we're gonna put it together with the old clutch and give it a whirl. Worst case scenario, we have to buy a new clutch in a little while because this one doesn't work, but it'll at least get us the flywheel with the starter ring and everything in the motor, which will allow us to start the car. Having a bad clutch in there won't matter when we go to try to start the car. It won't cause any issues. It's only when we go to try to drive the thing. So we're gonna at least be able to get the car started and figure that fiasco out with this clutch, and then we might get lucky and it worked just fine, or we might have to buy a new one and put a new one in. It won't take us very long to put in the new clutch if we have to go that route. So that's our new plan with clutch. The great thing about that is basically we're not waiting on anything to get the car running besides those little knickknacks that we've been finding over the last 2 weeks. So once I source those, which I think I can source all those here in Airdrie or Calgary, we should be ready to put the motor back in and try to get the thing running. So that's exciting. But that's all I have for you guys this week. I know it was a super short episode. We didn't get a whole lot done, but I don't have a lot of time right now. I'm pretty busy in my personal life. So even just getting out for a couple hours and shooting something is a win in my world. So that's all we're gonna do this week. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, hit the like and subscribe button. Go check us out on Instagram, Left Foot First Media, and we'll see you next week. I'm out of here.